but over here I pasted part of the code. This is actually a bit old code that just use a random string. Nowadays we can use just integers or specific values like security values. And I added a sleep step over here of 1 second, just so we could see better what's going on. Otherwise it's gonna run really fast and we're not gonna be able to see in the terminal. Let's run it over here. You can see that we started with negative values, floating, probably some execution over here, dumping JavaScript code. I have no idea what this is. This is the Cyrillic alphabet, probably you can see some Russian characters. Again, more system comments, not a number, as cross-site script injection, emojis, several of them. I think this is Chinese characters. I think you got the idea, right? That was all about all the time we had for this special edition, so thank you so much for the audience and hope your systems have fewer bugs after this presentation. If you feel the need to contact or report crew, you can do it safely on any of these channels. Our sources are always kept safe and classified. Stay tuned for more news after this break. I'm Vinicius Ferreira, good night and good luck!